All right, UFC 307 is now in the books. I don't know why I always start the videos off like that, but it's true and actually ended up being one hell of a card. We saw Wonder Boy unfortunately get knocked out right at the tail end of a fight that he was doing very well in against soon to be, if not already, a fan favorite in Joaquin Buckley. We also saw a belt exchange hands in the co-main event, Juliana Pena finding her way back to championship form, along with a whole bunch of other things. I don't want to get into every single fight because this video is just going to take forever to record. And in the main event, we saw a fight that was significantly closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a good fight all along. Two guys with absolute dynamite in both hands, just standing and banging. Pause. I think Khalil Roundtree is one of those guys that, unless you're a super hardcore UFC fan, a lot of people don't really know much about the guy. He hasn't really, I think this actually was his first ever main event that he's been in as a UFC fighter. First time going to full 5 rounds. But if you don't know, now you know he's only put on exciting performances. Khalil is one of those blink and you'll miss it kind of fighters. When he knocks his opponents down, he ends up beating the shit out of them like they stole something from him. For UFC standards, Khalil's got some of the cleanest Muay Thai you could ever hope to see. He's found a way to adapt that Thai style with the bouncing front foot to MMA with just kind of slightly widening his stance. But as everyone knows by now, going into this fight, he has shot exactly 0 takedowns in his MMA career. And part of the reason Khalil's Muay Thai is so good is because he spends a considerable amount of time training in Thailand, just focusing on sharpening his Muay Thai. And while in Thailand, the guy got so good that apparently he was reached out to by the head of the WBC to potentially fight for the WBC's Muay Thai belt at heavyweight. And of course, by now, when it comes to Alex Pereira and kickboxing, we've all heard the stories 1,000,001 times. The guy is an all-time great in the sport of kickboxing and has very effectively brought that skill set over to MMA and is pretty much doing the same thing in MMA that he was doing in kickboxing, just knocking everybody out, mostly with a left hook. But if you really think about it, up to this point, ever since Alex Pereira made the move to 205 pounds in the UFC, he's yet to fight somebody that's able to really give him something to worry about on the feet. I know he did have that fight, I guess the 2 fights actually, with Yuri Prochazka. But if you've seen Jiri fight before, Jiri is for sure one of the least defensively responsible guys in terms of the way he fights on the feet compared to the rest of the people at the top end of the light heavyweight division. And Yuri's actually also pretty small. He's about the same size as some of the slightly larger middleweights, coming in at around 215 or so pounds, whereas Alex Pereira was seen as early as the day after the fight weighing in at 230 pounds, which is just insane. And then of course there's Jamal Hill, who is a really good striker, but when you look back at that fight, look, I know Jamal is kind of use this as a little bit of an excuse, but I think there's some merit to it. The whole kind of weirdness with the nut shot and then the quick reset kind of caused Jamal to miscalculate the range a little bit, and before he knew it, he was on the ground because Alex was able to just kind of inch his way in and land one hell of a left hook. Jamal also coming right off of that Achilles tear. It kind of makes you wonder how mobile he was really going to be in that fight to begin with. And then of course Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz, which was a fight where Jan's game plan the whole time was to try to out wrestle Alex, get him on the ground, establish a good amount of control time, and try to beat up on the points that way. So up to this point, we really haven't seen Alex get tested on the feet since the back-to-back fights against Adesanya. So all in, this was going to be both fighters' biggest test on the feet at this division up to this point. And Khalil, with that kind of traditional Muay Thai style, was kind of uniquely equipped to deal with the challenge of Alex Pereira, a guy who likes to spam those leg kicks, those calf kicks that come from absolutely nowhere. But then Khalil, on the other hand, with that bouncing front foot, always ready to check a kick. And then Khalil also coming out of southpaw with his lead hand always up, ready for that left hook if Alex ever throws it. I think a lot of people, myself included, thought Khalil legitimately does have a chance to potentially get this one done, and if not, put up one hell of a fight. And that's exactly what Khalil did. He was able to land some pretty good shots. He was able to manage the distance better than some of Alex's most recent opponents, and Khalil's power was on full display. Khalil even capitalized on a big right hook, dropping Alex Pereira for, I believe, only the second time in his MMA career. And Khalil, being the shorter fighter, he was able to make use of his power and how much respect his power demanded and put Alex on the back foot a couple times, which, when all said and done, is pretty impressive because we all know the kind of ungodly power Alex has in both of his hands, really. I know we all think about the left hook, but his right hand is insane. That really does say something about the kind of power Khalil has. That being said, at the end of the day, on Alex's terms, because if you let that guy and get in his element on the feet, For 99% of fighters, it's just a matter of time before Alex is able to land the right shot and ultimately force the ref to have to step in. And that's exactly what Alex did. He made it rough and tough and ugly until he was able to put Khalil in the back foot and ultimately just start teeing off on him until it was all over, stopping him to the body, and that's all she wrote. Now, I loved this fight. I like seeing Alex in the fire a bit more. His last time out, I thought Jerry was going to have a little more form on the feet, and Alex just head kick knockout right away at the start of the second round. And I think Alex put on a hell of a performance. And I need to also preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I am a huge fan of Alex Pereira. I've been a fan of him since he was a kickboxer. But as usual in the sport of MMA, people are already losing their minds. And by people, I think the perfect example of this is none other than Ariel Helwani himself. Not only is he the greatest journalist that has ever existed in the world of MMA, but as soon as someone gets on his bad side, he then turns into the biggest hater that we've ever seen in the world of MMA. The guy knows how to hold onto a grudge like none other. And here we see him posting a poll saying that after that performance, who would you say is the greatest light heavyweight champion of all time? And no surprise here, of course, Jon Jones is kind of far and away the winner here. Although Alex with 36% of the vote is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. But there's no two ways about this. That is just straight up being a hater. I know that Jon and Ariel have some kind of weird beef, but Jon Jones has defended his title 13 times at light heavyweight. But now, to be fair, ESPN MMA recently posted that Alex Pereira is now tied with Daniel Cormier for number 3 all time in terms of the amount of title defenses at 205, which is amazing, which is very, very, very impressive for someone like Alex to do with such a short MMA career. But let's not forget a couple things about this fight. And again, I don't want to sound like a hater, but it's the truth. Khalil Roundtree was by no means the number 1 contender going into this fight. Khalil got this title shot because, in all honesty, he has a very fun, fan-friendly style. But there's a man out there by the name of Magomed Ankalaev who has been the number 1 contender for God knows how many years now. The guy hasn't lost a fight in 6 years. So yes, I think Alex Pereira is one of the greatest fighters on the planet. I think he deserves to be somewhere on the pound-for-pound list. But anyone spreading the idea that he is now somehow better or has a more impressive streak or career than Jon Jones is just absolutely out of their fucking mind. That being said, I think there is a very beautiful silver lining to this, though, because I think we all know that come November, which I guess is like in a few weeks from now, Jon Jones will be having what we were all presuming to be his last fight at heavyweight against Stipe Miocic. And I think we all know that Jon doesn't really want the fight with Tom Aspinall. Aspinall, who is and always has been a natural heavyweight, whereas Jon, but I think if the noise about Alex Pereira being looked at by, at the very least, a strong percentage of the fan base as the new face of the light heavyweight division, since he is the first one to defend the belt multiple times since Jon Jones, I say if Jon goes out there and beats Stipe, I don't see why Jon can't just make the cut to 205 one last time and face off with Alex Pereira. Jon wins. Jon gets to hoist 2 belts up around his shoulders and walk out of there beating the new fan favorite. Now that is a perfect storybook ending. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And yeah, Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira. Do you think it should happen? And if you do, who you got? Thanks for watching. Peace.